Hey there, everyone. This is Kyle from Azor Hype YouTube. I am joined here by three other amazing people, other amazing fans within the Expanse fandom. I'm joined here today with Bob, Ashaya, and Margaret, and today we're going to talk about a lot of what happened at DragonCon with the amazing Expanse panels, the meetups, and everything that went on at DragonCon. So first, we're going to introduce our amazing guest today. Bob, how are you doing today, my friend?
How's it going?
And you are excited to talk about the Expanse and your experience at DragonCon with the Expanse?
Oh, I've been going to DragonCon for years. It's always a great experience, and now that Expanse is out, I finally got into that around season 1. It was just really great, seeing them in person, and so appreciative of all the fan effort that's gone on the past year or so.
Excellent. This is Bob. We also have Margaret. What's going on, Margaret?
Hi. How long have you been going to DragonCon, Margaret?
I've been going to DragonCon for about 6 years, and
Wow.
I'm pumped to see that their Expanse finally has a large presence this year. So it was great to get to meet a bunch of other Expanse fans and get to meet a lot of people.
What are fans of the Expanse called? I guess they go by Screaming Firehawks. We call ourselves the Expans.
Is that really true?
Yeah, that's what Cas Anvar has dubbed a bunch of the fans. They use the hashtag Screaming Firehawks.
I prefer Beltalowda, I think.
Beltalowda, yeah. It's a little discriminatory to those Martians and Earthers, but
I don't know. Cass is kind of the people's champ. And then of course, we have Ashaya from History of Westeros YouTube. What's going on?
I'm just really excited to be finally talking some more about The Expanse. I covered season 2 on a little offshoot podcast that I did, Fandom Media, but it was really hard to juggle multiple podcasts, and since you suggested doing this, Kyle, I figured I'd let you take the brunt of the work, and I would jump on and chat a bit about this great panel experience. I've been going to DragonCon for 7 years now, and I usually don't go to very many panels at all, and I went to more this year than I had in multiple years combined.
It's so rude of you to put all the work on me, by the way. Wow, I can't believe it. We're not friends anymore. But I think it's appropriate that we all kind of get into a little bit of the Expanse and talk about our favorite characters. And let's start with Bob. Bob, who is the one character that has really made the most impact for you in your personal Expanse story?
Well, clearly, Bobby Draper. No, but seriously, I love that character. I think she's had the best character arc over the past couple of seasons, and I really appreciate how her story was able to really fill in a lot of gaps of the Martian lifestyle and their whole society.
And it is amazing, what they are trying to accomplish on Mars. Hopefully someday we're actually able to do that. Margaret, what are your thoughts? A favorite character? Is there one character that sticks out to you in the story of the Expanse?
Yes, my number one favorite character is definitely Kamina Drummer. If anyone saw me at DragonCon, I was dressed as her.
I have to say that I saw her in her cosplay, and I was like, my eyes lit up. I was like, I have to go talk to her.
Yeah.
Right now. That's amazing.
She was incredible, especially anyone that saw the end of season 3. I think they would agree with me.
Oh, yeah.
Season 3 was so good.
And she's an amazing actress. The voice work that she does, how different her voice is without the Belter accent is just so impressive. So I guess I'll go now since I'm already chiming in.
We're going to skip a Shea since I'm doing all the work. Kidding. No, go ahead.
No, but I do love Drummer. I've realized I definitely seem to like a lot of the Martians because I love Alex and I love Bobby. I like how much Alex is just... Other than his family, maybe. He's a good guy who cares about his found family, and he really is the glue that holds them together and all of that, and quite funny. So it's a Martian tie for me. But Drummer is pretty high up there for me. It's hard because she isn't one of the main cast and Rocinante crew members. They're all so good. I can't name one. Sorry. So Kyle, who's yours?
Are you all serious right now? It's got to be Avasarala.
I know.
She's the queen. Come on.
You're not going to name Naomi? I thought she was your queen.
Well, okay. Well, she's my queen because I want to marry her in real life. Dominique is just absolutely stunning. By the way, I got a little story about that after. And then not one where I'm getting married. So that's disappointing.
Which is your dream, obviously.
Yeah, which is my dream. But I really like Alex. I can empathize with him quite a bit. And Avasarala is just a total badass. Even though her motivations seem selfish.
She's one that you learn a lot about. And she starts out very dark, obviously.
But I think that she genuinely does care about the well-being of all humankind. So
Yeah.
But honestly, it's so hard. I love all of the characters, and I know, like it's like a hard question to ask everyone. Like, hey, pick one character that like really stands out to you. But Albert Sorrell's scenes, she's just so bad. Like all her F-bombs, they just make me laugh so much too.
You say F-bombs in a show that swears this much. No, we should. Well, there's sometimes we'll have to quote her for sure because she did swear up a storm during these panels, as we'll get to. But I have a question for all of you. I wanted to know how much you guys have read of the books, if anything. So I'll start with you, Margaret. Have you read any of the books?
I have not read the books.
Okay.
I own them.
You own them, okay. So
but-
you're planning to at some point, maybe when the show ends,
It's
maybe
hard
when you're
just because I love the show
Yeah.
so much, and I've heard that like Drummer as my favorite character. I've heard she's very, very different in the books.
She is not introduced till very much later as like a real character.
Okay.
Basically inspired by how good Karagi is as a drummer. So eventually you will get to stuff with her and be happy still, but there's also other characters that were rolled into her character that you would appreciate those characters just as much probably.
Yeah.
So, but it's also it's such a great adaptation that I truly don't feel like you're missing a lot by not reading the books, and I don't feel like you would be disappointed if you read the books. Okay, so Kyle, you recently binged all of season 3, huh?
It was the day before Dragon Con started actually, and I was like, well, so I got press passes for Dragon Con. I covered different conventions, and we didn't get so I started a second channel called Marvel. Last week we were supposed to get some Marvel interviews. That didn't fall through, and then I was like, damn, like and you guys kept on bugging me. You're like, how have you not watched season 3 of The Expanse? It's like one of the best seasons of television I've seen in a long time. And I always take the opinions of Aziz and Ashaya very, very seriously because they do have good taste in books and television and movies. And I decided to binge it. We can say one day because I slept 5 hours. But I binged all the episodes and wow, I couldn't believe the pacing in the season was just like right from the start, it really, really drew me in. It was one of the best seasons of television that I've seen, and I'm really happy that Amazon picked it up. But I have not read the books of Shea. However, we are starting this podcast, and I will be doing a lot of Expanse podcasting and theorizing. So I will be reading the books when I do find some time in the near future. I'm going to have to figure that out, add some more hours in the day for that.
So, Bob, I know you had your own perspective on your plans to read the books eventually, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm one of those guys. I have to see the television or theatrical adaptation first. Otherwise, if I read the book first, I'm just constantly distracted by all the missing or changed details. So, as soon as this show ends its 12th or 13th season, I'll go back, I'll read all the books, and I'll just have all that much more like information and exposition to enjoy.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. So one thing I wanted to talk about is what draws you to The Expanse. What are some of the things that you really appreciate about the show and about being a fan of the show, different experiences you've had? So I'll start with you, Bob, this time.
Hard science of it all. Like this isn't really so much science fiction as something that will just inevitably happen, mankind's expansion throughout the solar system. And I just really love how firmly they establish that science fact and then introduce this unknown element. And they just handle that drama so well, and their world building is immaculate. I loved it. Yeah.
It's authentic. It seems, even though it's hundreds of years in the future, it seems like it would be authentic the way that they pull it off, and that's something that they spoke about on the panels of Shea, and they're extremely passionate about, is that the authors of the series are involved in the process. So when they are filming, they are taking things very seriously in the way that everything is being portrayed, as far as the space science and the driving a space vehicle and whatnot.
Would that be one of your favorite things about the show? Is there something else that drew you to it in particular, or something you've gotten out of being a fan of it?
I mean, I'm a Game of Thrones YouTuber, so I'm studying the hero's journey all the time. George R. R. Martin is kind of subverting tropes of the hero's journey, and he's constantly making us look at humanity in different ways. But in sci-fi, we've got Star Wars and whatnot, but this is so different. We really can empathize with these characters, and at a ground level, we're really trying to associate with the mistakes that they made, the failures that they've had, and how they're trying to grow as people within this giant space war. And I don't think there's a story that's quite like it on television right now. So I think that to me is something that's like, well, I don't just want these big space battles. I also want to know what makes these people tick and why are they are making the decisions they are making.
So, Margaret, I have a two-part question, which is, one, of course, what got you into the show, what appealed to you about it, what do you love about it, but also, when did you get into it? We didn't address that before.
Yeah, I started watching right when the first season came to Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And I was able to binge it, which is the appropriate way to watch the show, I think. And so I binged all of season 1 and fell in love with, I think, everything you guys have said, the science, the world building, especially the characters. I love that there's all these distinct cultures, but you get to know them through these individuals and their journey and their story. And I feel like the writers of The Expanse are able to really make you feel like you understand each of them through these characters.
Yeah, definitely. And I 100% agree with everything you all have said. Something I've grown to really appreciate about The Expanse and has kind of hurt other science fiction for me is it's a really minor thing, but it's how real their lives seem in little things like we see Naomi and Drummer playing a game of a paddle ball, basically. Yeah. We see them go out to the club and go dancing and listen to music. And I feel like hobbies and having a rich and full life is often not represented in science fiction and often in media in general. It's just plot.
One thing as well, Shea, that is focused on within many different stories, but this one particularly is like the class system. We see the Belters, like some of the Belters are suffering. We have poverty, and the resources can't be diverted the way we would like on planet Earth. I mean, there's corporations and all of these different things that are going on. We kind of see some of the microcosms within human culture that we are experiencing right now later in the future. So I think that we can identify it that way, whether it's politics or not having enough resources to feed everyone or give everyone water. Those kinds of things are impactful as well.
Oh, yeah. It's an amazing story to have on television right now. It's so relevant, and it will continue to be relevant for a long time. I think it'll definitely stand the test of time. Let's move on and talk about some of the different fan-led events that happened at DragonCon. I actually didn't make it to many of the fan events. I was kind of burnt out on just doing 3 panels that weekend. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but DragonCon is pretty crazy, and there's a lot going on. So one of the most exciting ones that I wish I'd gotten to was there was the Lang Belta class run by Hannah Payne, who's at It Reaches Out on Twitter. She's one of the moderators of the Expanse Discord and the Expanse Reddit. She actually ran this class, this Belter language class, at Worldcon a few weeks before, and Kyle and I were there too. And we didn't make it to either the DragonCon or the Worldcon events, unfortunately. Shame on us. But
Shame.
A lot of shame, for sure. I feel bad about it. I'll have another chance. She'll keep running it, for sure. I need more opportunity to brush up on my Lang Belta, on my Belter language. But Hannah also ran a Belter bar party at Worldcon and did a whole Indiegogo campaign for that. So I just want to give her a shout out for just being an awesome member of the community and running these sort of things. But Margaret here, on the other hand, wasn't a slacker and did make it to the Lang Belta class. And you have some fun stuff to say about that and even some, like, documentation from it.
Yeah, the Belter class was amazing. I recommend you guys go. She was a great teacher. I guess I didn't realize even going into DragonCon that there was an entire Belter language written. And so, you know, she went over the tenses, vocabulary. She even gave everybody handouts. Like 3 pages of handouts.
Yeah, she has them right here. Margaret does, and we'll have to take a picture and share them along with this post because it's really awesome.
Yeah, notes on grammar. And there's a whole Discord that meets once a week and speaks in Lang Belta, and there's a subreddit for it. There's even a whole handout on Belter profanity, which is probably the most important part to learn.
Definitely.
I'm actually looking at the webpage with some of the vulgarities right now. Sabaka! I don't know.
Yeah, that means, oh, what the hell, right? Yeah, that's what that one means. I've got that one.
And then Pashang. Yeah, I was looking at all of them earlier. I'm like, maybe I should learn some of these for the podcast, and we should try to get some funny bits in. But
Definitely.
yeah, it's so interesting.
But you went to one other fan panel, right, Margaret? You went to one that had 2 people on it. If you want to share what that one was about and read this long title.
So there was also a fan-led discussion panel on the season 3 of The Expanse called "Ring Around a Space War: Pocket Full of Proto-Molecule."
What a mouthful!
Yeah, it was a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a Rage Against the Machine here. They had.
But it was also a great panel. A bunch of people that are very passionate about The Expanse talking about season 3, which is the best season. And I learned a bunch of little things that I'd never noticed, like the Belter tattoos come from the old scars they used to get from their vac suits not sealing correctly. Just a lot of little details that a bunch of people together kind of catch that you may miss when you're watching episodes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. That one had actually Hannah Payne on it again, pulling her weight, covering all the Expanse stuff at this convention. There was a pretty good amount of panels in general, because there was a few other fan panels, too. Anyways, I was just going to ask you, Kyle, so you popped into that fan meetup, which is where we met Margaret, who was in her awesome drummer cosplay, and we saw some other cool stuff. Why don't you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, there's the Proto-Molecule guys came in. That was really neat. I think, was there 3 of them or 2 of them? I think there was 3 of them.
I think there was 3. I know, actually, that group, I think they run, or they're just part of, there's an Expanse cosplay group on Facebook that I should recommend to everyone. We could put in the link whenever we post this up. But if you just look up Expanse Cosplay on Facebook, there's a whole group where people share how to make mag boots and stuff like that. So and you get to see cool cosplay and stuff like that. So they were in there. But I was talking to them about how they did that, and I was wondering how painful it was, because they had proto-molecule crystals coming out of their skin.
Yeah, LED lit and everything.
Yeah, so cool.
It was really cool. And I think one thing that I do want to mention is anybody that was out there that may be listening to this that was cosplaying at DragonCon or that loves to cosplay with Expanse characters out there, reach out to us in the comment section, and we want to try to connect the greater community as a whole. So you guys are awesome. Looking back, I wish I was dressing up in some sort of cosplay as well.
Great thing, and Margaret, you probably would agree with me, is that it's a really comfortable cosplay as far as those things go, really useful. I don't know about yours. I had a bunch of pockets.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not too hot, honestly. It wasn't so bad. I mean, I look at some people in their elaborate cosplay, and I just, shrugged on some coveralls.
No, I managed to wear mine the whole day at DragonCon,
Yeah.
which is a mark of honor, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to wear mine all day, every day, honestly. I loved it.
It's all about pockets. Women want pockets.
It is true.
Yes.
It is very true. How many pockets did yours have? Very important question.
Oh, mine had 4.
4. Oh, I had 6.
Oh my gosh.
6
What do you even do
pockets.
with 6 pockets?
I put an Instax camera in my pockets and had film and just, you wouldn't believe the stuff I stuffed in there.
Anyways, back to the actual conversation.
But one thing I want to talk about is cosplay, and one thing that I noticed is that belters are extremely popular.
Yes.
One, because it's much easier than the MCRN uniform, which you would have to basically custom make. There was one lone MCRN officer, a woman, who asked a question at one of the panels. So bravo to her.
Yeah, she looked great.
For sure. She looked really good. I was jealous. I would love to do MCRN, but you definitely have to make that.
Yeah.
At this point, eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to buy it. People will be making it already. But there was also, at that fan meetup we saw, there was a Miller and a Julie Mao, which was pretty cool. I saw another Julie Mao that had, fairy lights all over her, like the blue lights, like the proto-molecule.
I didn't see that one, but I saw the Miller. That was awesome.
Yeah. There was, I don't know if you guys saw this guy. There was a Miller pushing around the nuke, the bomb.
Oh, that was amazing.
What a commitment.
Yeah.
That is, how tired was that guy? It was warm.
Yeah. That guy posted a YouTube video, a how-to on how he did that Miller cosplay, including the bomb. So we'll post the link to that as well, because that's pretty cool that he shared how he did that. But really, I don't want to know how he made it. I want to know how he physically did it.
By the end of the weekend, me and Shay were like, our feet are on fire. How are we still going?
Well, so those were my highlights for Expanse cosplay. Honestly, there was a lot there in that fan meetup. I didn't expect there to be so many. There was, I feel like 40 or something cosplayers.
Yeah, at least.
And that was just at the fan meetup at 10 p.m. There were more beyond that throughout the weekend.
It really, there really was a lot of people there to see the Expanse panels. I mean, Shea, me and you have been to several different types of cons, and I gotta say that I think the Expanse is here to stay. As far as Dragon Con is concerned, I mean, damn, there's a lot of people who really love this show.
Oh yeah, I mean, we don't have to tell anyone listening to this episode, but obviously considering the whole Save the Expanse campaign, the things that they did, like, flying an airplane banner or sending a Rocinante to space, these are some passionate fans, for sure.
Agreed.
So going into this convention, because let me say that they announced maybe a month before the convention that they were going to be there. So I think probably you as well, Margaret, we were in crunch time, like, we got to get this cosplay together. Yeah. We have to do everything for the show. So I was like, I got to get a photo op. I've never done a photo op before, actually, but I wanted to support the cast so much. So I bought the photo op, got some friends to do it, and it was extremely quick to do the photo op. Literally, snap of the fingers, hardly knew what was happening. Worth it overall. But as I learned, because I have no experience with this sort of thing, the Walk of Fame booth, which is where they do their signings, you can get a picture taken with your phone. And that takes a little bit longer, because you have to hand someone your phone, they have to arrange it, you have to get in the shot. So it would have been a little more personal, I think. So next year I'll probably do that. And so you did that, right? What was your experience?
Yeah, so we on Friday when we were wearing our Belter costumes, we waited in line to meet the cast. Mm-hmm. It was actually a pretty long line. I was surprised.
It was pretty long.
And we were actually the last ones to get in, but we decided to do a photo with all of them. Mm-hmm. But it was amazing. We got to wait a little bit because they were signing autographs ahead of us, and so we got to interact with all of them. They were so excited to see our costumes.
Oh, I bet Dominique was flipping out over your drummer.
Dominique took a picture of my drummer and then texted it to Carrie Gee, which I was so excited about.
Damn.
She was so excited. And then we took a photo, which actually took a bunch of photos because Cas Anvar was so excited that we were dressed up. So he did, made specific requests for how we posed.
Oh, amazing.
Cass is so awesome. Cass is awesome.
Yeah. And there's one where Dominique is giving me a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, wow. You gotta show me those
that's
pics.
So rude of you to talk in the podcast. I didn't even get a kiss.
Wow, you weren't dressed as drummer. I mean, how could drummer not get a kiss from Naomi? Team Triomi for sure over here. So yeah, that is awesome. That's what I want to hear. Next year for sure I'm doing the selfie. Did you get anything signed or just a photo?
Just a photo. Just a photo. And it's not cheap because you pay for each
I
each
tried
person,
to get the bundle. I wanted to get my coverall signed. I wanted to get my cosplay signed, and they wouldn't cut me a deal. So instead I got a nice thing with all four of them, an image, and got that signed. And I almost did the selfie too, and I'm like, I have the photo op tomorrow. Control yourself. But I'll be doing it next year for sure, that selfie thing.
Yeah, based on the response they got at Dragon Con, they'll definitely be back.
Oh, that's 100% certain. Maybe even 101%. Wow.
So, Bob, you did the photo op with me. I dragged you along. Probably not really dragging. I think you were excited to do it.
Yeah, that's my first one, too. And, it just seemed like exactly what you said. They were so appreciative of us. We were so appreciative of them. It was just a fun little exactly in and out experience, but still a fun connection to make with these talented professionals.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, so Kyle, you, on the other hand, had something I'm insanely jealous of, which is a decent conversation that took a few minutes with Cas Anvar, and you interacted with Dominique Tipper a little bit too, huh?
Yeah, so when you get a press pass at Dragon Con, you get invited to a mixer, and all the different people who have the press passes come, and you have a drink, and there's some food, and you can kind of network and chat with everyone, and it was really awesome. In the beginning, I was just having a drink, chatting with a couple different people, just doing some networking. And then Dan Carroll made a speech. Shout out to Dan Carroll, by the way. Thank you so much. Does an amazing job with the.
What does Dan Carroll do for the con? You should tell everyone.
Media relations. So he is super instrumental in getting actors and actresses there and setting up content and all sorts of stuff like that. Dan's actually a friend of mine, and he's amazingly dedicated to getting a talent like Dominique and Cass and other people at Dragon Con every year. So Dan was making his speech, and after that, Dominique and Cas walk into the party. I'm like, no way! I just binged like, all of season 3 of The Expanse. And I was having a drink, and like literally 5 minutes later, Cas Anvar comes over to me and goes, "Hey, can I interview you?" I go, "Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?" I was like, but my heart was gonna explode. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing a documentary on sci-fi and what it means to everyone." And I got to be part of a documentary. I don't know when that is coming up, but I do have the contact information. With Cas had an assistant with him the whole weekend. You probably saw him with the panels and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and that is so damn cool. Cas is such an amazing guy.
And he is so friggin' passionate. And we're going to talk about some of the panel stuff after with some of the ethnic components. Cas really speaking out on that, but he was so passionate to hear about it, and he was just like honestly just a really nice guy. He had a lot of positive energy, and I got to meet him and Dominique. I got a hug from Dominique. She was like, just saw how passionate I was. They overheard me talking in the interview, and they were like digging it. They were like, "Yeah, this." I was like talking about the hero's journey in outer space and stuff like that. But yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Cas and Dominique for being this like such. They're just like really cool, like normal people, just like me and you, trying to hang out and have fun with everyone. So that was really cool. And yeah, probably the highlight of my weekend. Honestly, it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. What was it? I think Cas called himself in one of the panels a geeky comic book collector turned who wanted to be a scientist turned actor.
Yeah.
So he's one of us. One of us. We should all just be chanting that when he comes up on stage. Basically. You look at his like filmography for sure, and he definitely gravitates towards genre TV. He does things like Neverland, and he
did a show called The Strain, which I really enjoyed, which is a graphic comic. Yeah.
So a lot of stuff like that. He does stuff that he would appreciate, but also, which is just a fact of that type of media, is that it tends to be a better, more diverse representation, and so it's no wonder that he would gravitate towards that sort of thing. But I love, love, love it when an actor is into geeky things, because I'm into geeky things, but also when they read the books and when they really dive in and that's shade at you, Kyle. No.
Yeah, I haven't read the books. Oh, wow. Yeah.
None of my other
I'm not an Unsullied. I'm not an okay, yes, I guess I am.
Yes, you are. But regardless, I have respect for every actor's decision on whether to read the books or not, because depending on the character and the story, sometimes it doesn't make sense to read the rest of the story. They need to be in the dark, or sometimes they only want to read their point of view. Sometimes they just can't control themselves and want to read it all, though. And I'm like, yeah.
But it does feel like the layers to Alex and his character, it does feel like he read the books. Like, I mean, when he's giving his performance, it does feel like he does have that background.
Yeah, he said he read all the books, and it takes a few books before you even see a lot about Alex. Yeah. So he was able to take a lot of that stuff from the books and add it to Alex's character. And I think the authors honestly really benefit from the TV show, because it makes the characters even more real and fully realized to them. Honestly, in the first few books, some of the characters are not as fully developed as they are in the show, and there's things in the show that aren't even introduced until book 5, book 6, that they've managed to balance both things. So it's a really unique show book adaptation.
The one thing that Cas did talk about is kind of like the authenticity. The authors, the writers of this story are involved in the show, and they deeply care about how it's going to be portrayed. And the fact that Amazon picked it up means that it's going to continue, and that means they have even more agency to make sure that they're doing this properly. So I think that that is a really, really positive sign going forward for The Expanse.
So going forward for The Expanse at DragonCon, I wanted to ask all of you what you wanted out of The Expanse presence next year, what cast members you really want to attend, things like that. So I'll start with you, Bob. Are there any cast members you really would like them to add? Are you pretty happy with the 4 they got? I mean, obviously you're happy with them, but who else would you want?
Oh, well, absolutely. The one reason I started this show, Thomas Jane.
Oh.
And I think he's done enough genre work. I think he could make a pretty penny at DragonCon.
I agree.
And especially with I mean, he was actually, when I was binging through, Shea tried so hard not to tell me that he was going to be in some of the episodes, and I told her, I'm like, I think he's going to be in this episode, and she just looked at me smiling. I'm like, no, just tell me, please. And he actually was. So I think he would have like that kind of impact. People would be like, yes, Miller. Yeah.
So that's your pick, Thomas Jane. Anything else you can think of out of the Expanse stuff you just want? Same old, more panels, stuff like that, Bob?
Yeah. I'd love to see, like, of course, more of the cast, especially, Amos.
Yeah.
He's right behind.
So he'll be your
Bobby
next
on
pick.
my favorite
Okay.
character list, by the way.
Yeah, he's really, Wes Chatham is a really damn good actor. Like, he has to do some really subtle work for that role. So, Kyle, what about you? Who's your pick?
Yeah, honestly, they were. I mean, Shoreh's my favorite.
So you're pretty happy, I think, with the 4. I am too, but I still have what my next pick would be.
Well, I think what I would really want is to be somehow on the panel as a moderator with them.
Oh, there you go.
That would be my dream. I'm gonna have to have a lot of work and to do that. Who knows? Maybe if I work hard enough, that can happen. But
you've got a goal, though.
I got a goal. Honestly, this is the answer I'm gonna give. These panels really blew me away, and I've been to a few different conventions now, and those are my favorite panels I've ever seen. So I can't really answer that question honestly, because I feel like they gave me everything I wanted. I would just want them to be longer, because some of them got cut a little bit short.
So, Margaret, what would you want next year? You went to a couple panels. You went to the Langbelta. Any thoughts? Any cast members?
Well, obviously, Carrigie, I would be over the moon to see her in person and to get to meet her. But honestly, the fan panels were so much fun. I hope they do another fan meetup. I hope it's bigger. I would love even an Expanse party.
Yeah,
something
I would love
like that. Just more opportunities to interact with fans of the Expanse, because to me that was the part that blew me away more than anything else. I've never had as much fun dressing up in cosplay.
I bet you had so many people coming up to you about her. Yeah,
I had so many people talking to me about Drummer. I met so many fans, even that weren't dressed up, that were just fans of the Expanse. And I'm already working on my Drummer for next year with my mech legs.
Ooh,
so
I didn't know that. That's so cool. I have to come see that when you got it going.
Oh, damn.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so I'm ready for next year. When it
yeah,
comes.
wow, I'm impressed to hear that. That's really cool.
And we don't know when season 4 is going to come out, so there's going to be
no, but we do know that they had their table read yesterday.
So
yeah,
and they're starting.
They look
so
really hype. They looked excited.
In my case, what I want next year, Drummer would be my pick. That's who I would want them to add out of the cast. It would be if they could add a 5th. But out of the if you'd asked me what 4 people I wanted, I would have named those 4 actually that they picked. But she would be next. What I want next year is, because like I said, there were a lot of Expanse cosplayers there, and it was in a small indoor room. I think that there should be a photo shoot hour, and I'm gonna actually contact the con and make sure that they do that. Which they have that for Game of Thrones and for some other different media, and you just outside, better light, everyone together, and you can mingle, and that's kind of like a fun meetup thing too. I go to the Game of Thrones one because you can chat with other Game of Thrones fans and get pictures and see all the cool cosplay at once. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, because usually Dragon Con, like for example, last year they had a Borderlands one where all the characters from the video game board people that were cosplaying as
and they don't have to be as big. Like the Game of Thrones one is massive, but even smaller groups could have it. I got lucky actually that when I was leaving the Friday panel, the general Q&A, a bunch of other people in cosplay like yelled at me. They were like, Tycho, because I was dressed as Sam Rosenberg, and in the Tycho jumpsuit. They yelled Tycho, and I like turned around and they're like, over here, we're gonna get some pictures taken. And so I got a picture with maybe 10, 15 of us in a group, like before the fan meetup happened. And then I was even more blown away when I saw like 3-4 times that together. I was like, oh, there's lots of us.
I think it really is the best sci-fi television show right now. I mean, and if the budget really is getting increased, we got more to be excited about.
So we're going to release a different episode that talks a little more in depth about the panel experience, because Kyle and I managed to make it to all 3 panels, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Bob actually went to the Saturday panel, which was on the science of the Expanse from A to 0G. Bob, tell us about your experience at the panel and how many other Dragon Con panels you'd even been to, actually, in the number of years you've been. I'm kind of curious about that, too.
Oh, well, I went to Dragon Con a few times in high school, but I've gone annually since 2010. And I guess as I get older, the fewer and fewer panels I go to. DragonCon is basically a party where I get to like reunite with all my high school friends. It's just a huge party. But
It's Mardi Gras for nerds.
exactly, yeah. It's Halloween, Mardi Gras, everything all wrapped up in once. But I definitely wanted to make a point to see this Expanse panel because I'm really into the science. I'm not very science minded, but I've read a few Phil Plait books, so I've got a expert level understanding, I would think. But no, it's really good. There was a lot of great tidbits, especially like that one, the one part where someone was talking with Dominique Tipper about just the way they are able to perform the physics that their characters are under. And I mean, there was just one anecdote where she was talking about how they were being asked to do one thing that they just knew as actors and as people who have learned this science by necessity. They knew better than the writer and the director, what they needed to do in this certain scenario. So a lot of fun stuff like that. Great. The actors had such a great perspective and respect for the science that everyone is making such an effort to put into this show.
Definitely. They had some cool little clips that they showed, and then they would chat about the science of that particular clip and talk about some particular moments in it. And like I said, we're going to get more in depth with these panels a little later, but I just wanted to tease you all a little bit with a look at what these panels are going to be about.
So I think we should ask one more question, Ashea, before we head out here.
Yeah.
The one thing that stood out to you, Bob, over the weekend, we'll start with you, Bob, and then Margaret. What was the one thing you enjoyed most about having the Expanse at DragonCon over the weekend?
I do work in the industry here in Atlanta, so I have a lot of respect for talent that is appreciative of their fans and their work. This isn't really a job for them. You could tell they were so in love with the show and their fans for saving their job, and that was really inspiring, and it was great to see. They're just four really cool people that apparently are very fun to hang out with. I wouldn't know. You guys were having all the fun here.
Hey Bob. I partied with them on Thursday. Margaret, same question to you.
Yeah, for me, the one thing that stood out to me was just the community behind The Expanse. I've been watching The Expanse with a group of friends, and I kind of felt like we were the only ones that really knew about it. I didn't really know a lot of people were talking about it. And then at DragonCon, it was like The Expanse was everywhere you looked, every time you turned around, and everybody was 10 out of 10 passionate about it, wanted to talk to you about it, wanted to talk to the actors about it. I've never seen anything like that for a show.
When you were walking around, did you have a lot of people, like when you're crammed into these hallways walking, there's groups of people and someone will just yell, Beltalowda!
Yeah, I got a lot of, Oi, Beltalowda!
Yeah.
I got a lot of that.
Yeah, me too. It made me grin, so I was like, yes!
Yes.
That's so awesome. And Ashea, I mean, I think we're on the same page, but do your thing.
Like I said, I was over the moon to actually show up in force, front row for all of the panels, and just be like, we love your show, we're glad you're still on the air, we're here and we're supporting you. But I was also really glad that I managed to throw this cosplay together last minute and walk around, and when everyone saw me, I got one of those con ribbons that you attach to your badge from the fan meetup that said, ask me about the Expanse. And so when someone would be like, so what is this cosplay you're wearing? I'd be like, hold it up, ask me about the Expanse, do it. And so I definitely, I feel like I impressed on a lot of people that they needed to be watching this show. So that's one of the things I was most excited about is the amount of fans that were there, but also the amount of fans that I think were newly converted just by seeing, what are these people in these jumpsuits around?
Yeah. I think I speak for all of us here, and I think that the one thing that we all really noticed was the positive energy from Dominique, from Cas, and all of them. It really is so different. Not Frankie
not,
or
not
Shoreh.
Frankie or Shoreh. Don't mention them by name.
I didn't want to mention them because I want Shoreh to drop F-bombs about that if she ever hears about this podcast. But genuinely, you could tell how much they cared about that, and the positive energy was so infectious. It infected everyone like a virus, I think. So that's the one thing that I noticed, and I think it's going to continue. But yeah.
I had one more question to wrap up, which is just if Bob or Margaret have anywhere that they want people to follow them or anything like that. If Margaret plans on sharing her mecha leg progress, or if you're not going to be debuting it till DragonCon properly, or you're going to post about it, anywhere we can find you guys. Margaret, you first.
I'll probably need some help and support for building those mech legs.
Yeah.
I'll probably be posting a lot in the Expanse fan cosplay group on Facebook.
Cool. So join that.
Join that, yeah, because if you have any advice, I will be looking for that.
What about you, Bob? Is there anywhere you want people to find you, or you just want to be an enigma?
I'm just going to walk backwards into the shadows and see you all next time.
Well, what about like Homer Simpson into the bushes?
Yeah, basically. That's Bob right there.
No, I am at Bob Wagstaff on Instagram and Twitter. I'm rarely active on either, but you can just say you followed me before.
Follow him on Facebook and talk with him there.
No, I only use Facebook for stalking people.
And Kyle, you've said a little bit about where we can find you, but let's hear that again.
I'm going to be doing quite a bit of Expanse content. Me and Ashaya will be, I guess, the main people, I guess you can say, Ashaya, that will be doing content. Aziz, of course, will be joining us. But you can find me on Azora Hype YouTube. That's where actually this video is going to be featured. My other channel is called Marvelous, but my main channel focuses on Game of Thrones and the Song of Ice and Fire. And my second channel is going to be all about Star Wars, the Expanse, the DC Universe, and Marvel. And that's where you can find me on Twitter at Azora Hype, Instagram Azora Hype, and on Facebook at Azora Hype.
Very easy to remember. Great. I do not have such synergy. But you can find me. We're History of Westeros on Facebook, Westeros History on YouTube, History of Westeros on iTunes, and all that. We're a podcast and YouTube show that covers Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. If you feel like listening to me talk about The Expanse Season 2, I did cover it on my show Fandom Media, but unfortunately did not cover Season 3, but I'm dearly hoping that Kyle and I will get to it and cover some of those previous episodes, including Season 1, I would like to double back to as well. And on Twitter, I'm at Miranese Not. If you don't know how to spell that, well, too bad.
Also, what we would absolutely love is anybody that's listening to this episode that did go to DragonCon, please tell us about your favorite experiences over the weekend at DragonCon and with the Expanse cast. If you've read the books, if you watch the show, we all want you to kind of chip in, and we want to connect this community because all the people that we met were just so awesome and like-minded and positive. So that's the goal really of this podcast, is to nerd out even more and to connect all of us and really become friends. We want. Oh yeah, let's become friends. That's like the only word I know in the language. But yeah, and also we're thinking of some names for the podcast. We're gonna have a poll for that really soon. We got a couple of really awesome suggestions for the podcast. But thank you so much for joining us today. And shall we get is there a word for goodbye in Belta that we can all say at the same time?
You got your papers here. Oh. Goodbye. Here we have it.
Oh yeah, dang.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, dang. Goodbye.